Hi, welcome to episode 9 of the Noisy Golfer. Thank you so much for your feedback so far. We're delighted to have on with us our next guest, all the way from New Zealand. And we're actually filming at very, very different time zones. It's now 9 o'clock in the evening here on the 25th of October, but it's 9 o'clock on the 26th of October with our guest, Laura Hoskin. Laura, how are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I'm just here having my breakfast, and you're about to go to bed.
Yeah, no, yeah, looking forward to some much needed sleep actually. As we were saying, just off air, just before we started as well, Jade's absolutely gutted that she couldn't be on this one because I know that she had loads of things to ask that we'll go through. For those of you that know, obviously we've got Isaac who's 8, but also Leo that's 2. Leo's proving a little bit restless tonight, unfortunately. So Jade's not with us. But that said, there's so many things to talk about. I know that we've got in touch with each other on Instagram and we followed each other. For those of you that don't, for those of you watching that don't know you, could you give us an intro in terms of who you are, your backgrounds into golf, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Laura, I'm 26, I'm from New Zealand, and I've recently just come back from America where I earned some partial Symmetra Tour status. I've played in China, I've played in Vietnam, I've played a tournament on the Korean tour, and I went to Ole Miss University in America for 4 years. So yeah, I've kind of been all over the place, but at the moment, because of COVID,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, of course. Well travelled then. I mean, there's so much to discuss and unpackage there already. But it'd be great to start at the beginning in terms of when you first started playing golf. What can you tell us about when you first started playing? Who was it that got you into it, and what was it about golf that sort of drew you in?
Yeah, it was, I guess, like most girls or most kids, really, like their parents get you into golf, right? Like your
Yeah,
parents play,
yeah.
then you go out to the course and you just go, see what it's all about. And my dad is a major sports enthusiast. So he said, get good at one sport, Laura, and it can take you a lot of places. So I just fell in love with golf. And I went to boarding school. So
Okay.
I, every day after school, you'd go back to the hostel. And I mean, I'd just like to golf and go to golf every day. I mean, I wasn't much of a socializer, um, but I just kind of was like my getaway, I guess, and
Yeah.
I just loved it. Yeah.
When was it that you first started playing then, and how young were you when you first picked up a club?
Yeah, I think I was about 10 years old when I saw on your Instagram page, like probably that age for
Okay.
sure. Um, but it wasn't until maybe like I was 13, 14 where I really started competing.
Okay.
Um, and I was really lucky. My parents took me to America for a couple of years in a row to play lots of junior tournaments
Oh
in
wow.
the States.
Yeah.
So that was where I got noticed by college recruits.
Okay.
Um, and that's why it was not easy, but being physically there playing tournaments
Yeah.
made it easy for college recruiters to contact you and see you play and get a scholarship.
Ah, okay. So how young would you have been when you first went to the States then, having started the game at around 10?
Yeah, I turned 18 when I went to America for my first
Ah,
year
okay.
of,
Okay.
of college. Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
And with regards to, I mean, what would also be great to learn about as well is the sort of the New Zealand golf scene. What we found, certainly even in the UK here, is that Isaac, our son who's 8, even though golf's obviously very popular in the UK, um, we're confident that Isaac's the only the only golfer in his school. So I still think, one of the things that we're talking about in the UK is we think that the UK, certainly the education system's got some way to go to introduce golf at earlier ages. It would be great to learn a little bit more about sort of what happens in New Zealand, because obviously it seems obviously it's the other side of the earth. I'm sure obviously golf's popular in some extent, but how would you sort of describe the golfing landscape in and around your?
Yeah. Honestly, it's probably really similar to what you're talking about at
Yeah.
home for you. Golf is not a popular sport.
Okay.
Although I think the New Zealand golf community, they are putting steps in place to make it more popular. Growing up, for me, I was the only girl in my school in the South Island that played golf. You know, like it was but golf offers so many amazing benefits socially, mentally, physically, like to kids. And I think, you know, going forward, it would be great if schools did introduce it to part of their curriculum even. I was really lucky. I grew up in a beautiful town called Queenstown, and we have amazing golf. And every Friday and winter, we're going golfing. And I think there were maybe 10 kids who decided to golf, and the rest of the school decided to go up skiing. Of course, I was the golfer, so but yeah, if that gives you any you know, ratio.
No, absolutely. No. So you've obviously you've started golf at 10. What was there a particular, obviously before going to the States at 18, was there a particular moment in between that period where you thought, I'm actually quite good at this? If so, when was that? And was there a point where
I was never good?
I take this a bit more seriously?
I remember when I was a junior and my dad got me into group junior golf lessons, and I was not the best. Like, I was the one hitting it along the ground, and other girls or guys would be hitting it high. Like, all I could think was, they've got it off the ground. Like, why can't I do that? And I find, you know, I think I just had this inner determined factor. I was like, I want to get good. I want to get better. And eventually you become a better player. And it doesn't take long when you're a kid, right? You pick something up really fast. And I was about, I'd say maybe 13, 14 when my dad started taking me to national tournaments. That was when I decided, like, I quite like the sport. I like competing. And it was something me and my dad did together, which was nice. But honestly, I didn't even know American scholarships existed until I was like 16, when I went to America for the first time. Like, I didn't know that was what you did. I just played golf and played because I loved competing. And then I was like, oh my gosh, you can get scholarships to America. You can get a free education. You can play all around the States, like, for free. I'll go for sure. And yeah, it just all kind of came as you progress through the golfing system.
So how did you first become aware that that's something that you could do in terms of US golf scholarships?
I think because New Zealand's so isolated from the rest of the world, and so because golf is not a popular sport. Like, we've got netball, like we like you guys, netball, rugby, cricket, and it's just not a thing people do. And so, but because you go over to America playing junior tournaments, everyone is major golf fans. They love golf. And that was where I'm like, like, I could get a scholarship for golf. And so that was like then the burning desire, and the next step in my golfing career was to gain a scholarship. And I was just lucky enough that I played really well over there in my junior career. Like, I made it to the US Junior Girls Amateur. I won a San Diego tournament, like. And I think also maybe because you're so naive, like, because you're in New Zealand and you're not surrounded by lots of other girls, you don't realize what's out there. And I don't know, I just, being naive is not a bad thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you've moved to America, talk us through that. Because I mean, as a teenager, I mean, did your family move with you? Did you move on your own? You know, how was that experience?
No, I went on my own. So it was a great experience, and I would 100% recommend it to any young golfer that aspires to go to America. If you think it's scary, it might be scary for the first bit, but everyone else is in the same boat as you. Everyone's come from different parts of America, different parts of the world, and you're all there together. And the support system in the American college, American colleges, is so great. Like, they're there to help you. And they're really great, and I definitely recommend it for sure. No, I loved it. I have made friends that I still talk to now.
And was it Oregon University that you moved to? Is that right?
So I went to Oregon State for my first year. unfortunately, the coach that recruited me there, she got fired.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so then the new coach that got brought in, she had a big clean out of the team. So I think she sent four players home. Like she
Oh,
said,
wow.
you're off the team. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was one of those players. So I was then recruited to Ole Miss, which was a major upgrade because it's an amazing school.
Okay. Oh, so it's
Yeah.
actually worked out the better for you then, the fact that that
Oh,
happens.
1,000%. Like I wouldn't have asked for it to work out any other way. Yeah.
So with regards to when you moved to college then, what were you studying as well as playing golf?
I think I changed my major 6 times. Like you on the outside it looks like so fabulous, but on the inside, like no. I went from business, I went from hospitality management, I went from I think I did some yoga classes. Not that it's a major, but that was a class that I did.
Yeah.
And then I finally settled on journalism.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So in
So
terms of the
yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was good.
in terms of the golf itself, you've obviously mentioned already that you had some successes there. Just talk us through your journey, because obviously, you know, again, I'm sure playing from New Zealand and moving to the US, and I suppose virtually playing, full time. How did that one impact your game, and two, in terms of the competitive nature of your golf game? Would you say that there are any particular things that sort of developed from there, or any particular experiences that's put you in a great position to sort of kick on beyond college golf? How would you describe that?
Yeah, so gosh, professional golf is, in my opinion, was very different from college golf.
Yeah.
College golf is very team orientated, and professional golf, you're out there for you, and you're out there playing for money so you can keep going and keep getting status. If you have a bad week, like it kind of means that it's a big deal. But if you have a bad week in college golf, you just try again the following week. I would say like China, I spent a full year in China playing, and the competitiveness over there was amazing. The girls are awesome. Like they have, that tour is just run so well. And I honestly, I couldn't believe that there weren't any more Americans playing on it, because I'm like, this is so, like, they're playing just as much, if not more, over there on the compared to the Symmetra Tour.
Yeah.
But I didn't play great, if I'm being honest, but it taught me a lot about my game, and it taught me a lot about playing professionally and playing week in and week out. And that's the important part for a professional golfer, right? Like, your game needs to be so just solid that even if you're, your B or C game, you can still put 4 scores up on the scoreboard and make the cut. It's just a whole learning process, and you just have to accept you're not going to play great all the time, and you can't let that mentally bog you down.
Yeah. So at what point did you move to China then? Was that your first step after college golf? What was your path once you graduated?
Yeah. So I finished college. Yeah, so I finished college golf in May 2018, and I originally wanted to stay over in America and get internships and work. Yeah. And then my dad said, "No, like, Laura, if you want to play professionally, I'll fund you." So May, June, July. So that 6 months later, I decided to go play Q school in China, and I played really well. I placed in the top 20 and got my full status over there. Yeah. And just ended up playing in China for the remainder of 2019. Back and forth, obviously. You can't, gosh, I could not spend more than 4 weeks in China. I can just go back and forth.
So how did it, you mentioned obviously there were many players of other nationalities there. So I take it the majority, was it predominantly Chinese? Was there a mixture of Korean? What was the sort of the demographic like of that particular tour?
There were 2 from Australia, and Then there was me and my friend Hani. She is Korean, but she's born and bred in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And then the rest were from Japan, China, Vietnam. Gosh, yeah, Taipei, is that a place?
Yeah. Chinese Taipei, yeah.
Taipei.
But a predominantly Asian source. So essentially what you're saying is obviously certainly a lack of Europeans, certainly a lack of American golfers.
Yeah.
Did you notice anything different in terms of the approach to golf? Because I know culturally, certainly when you look at Korean players on the tour, there's obviously that in terms of work ethic, their approach, their sort of, I suppose, commitment to technique and that sort of thing. Did you notice anything there that you felt, I suppose, was either different or to either the European or American games?
Very very, very seriously, focus a lot on technique. They love the range. They don't make mistakes. I don't know if I would say the Americans probably have more fun with it. For example, when you go to America and you're playing on tours or mini tours, like girls are like super like friendly, like would say hi to another girl on the other side of the fairway, like, oh my god, I love your outfit, like really like you're very single-minded, I guess is what you'd say. Yeah.
Cool. And is there a reason why you're no longer playing on the Chinese LPGA Tour now?
Yeah, because of COVID.
Oh, okay. So effectively, you'd have still been playing on that tour had it not been for the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's honestly such a shame.
It is, because COVID is so annoying. So if there was no such thing as COVID, I'd probably be, what month is it? I'd probably be over there now playing. Otherwise, I'd be preparing for the Australian tour.
Okay.
Which is from January till March. And travel, you have to limit your travels down to pretty much one country and just spend your time there, which is going to be America for me in about 6 months' time.
Okay. Because I know that when you look at the pandemic, you've obviously been, your nation's obviously been blessed with a very competent prime minister. Without taking this conversation too political in the UK, I suppose it's one extreme to what we experience. Are there currently travel restrictions in place in terms of you? Because I know that there's certain nationalities where they can gain elite sports person status, which allows them to freely travel between countries, assuming that they can obviously, be frequently tested and that sort of thing. Are there restrictions within New Zealand at the moment that are preventing you from doing any sort of travel at all?
Yeah. Really, we're quite strict at the moment. So you can't do last minute travel. It boggles my mind. So when I went to America a couple months ago, I was on a waiting list for 4 months to get a spot at MIQ before I even left the country. And once we had that secured, we then booked the tickets to go to America because we knew we could come home. At the moment, that whole system has changed. So they're no longer doing a waiting list, they're doing a lottery. So you've got 30,000 MIQ places to get home. So it's impossible to travel. Like you just, because you don't have that certainty that you're going to get home. Yeah.
Oh man. So how long do you think that is likely to sort of continue for then? I know that I was reading the news before. I know that I heard that the Beijing marathon was cancelled because of a spike in COVID cases there. Obviously, the Tokyo Olympics experienced, its own issues in terms of fans and things. So, are there any predictions in terms of when you think that may change?
I think it would be until we get to like a 90% vaccination percentage within our country.
Okay.
I think eventually we'll allow people in, but they'll have to be double vaccinated.
Yeah.
But it's going to take some time, I think, for a prime minister to be confident that that's going to work.
Oh my God, I can't. I mean, it's such a crazy thing to even think about, isn't it? But you know, the UK, I think, is. I know we're heading into the winter months, so naturally, there's a lot of players that will, you know, not necessarily play through the winter, but we still do have access to golf courses and things. So geographically, with where you are, I mean, you know, as far as I'm aware, you know, players can still travel to, you know, Europe and America and all sorts of other countries. So as an athlete wanting to get away and compete, it must be so frustrating.
It is, and all you see on Instagram, right? Your friends playing in America and playing Q school and tournaments, and I'm just like, it would be, but it's just there are so many restrictions, and it's one of those things that you can't control. So you have to give yourself. You can't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you've qualified, did you say, with a certain type of status on the Symmetra Tour?
Yeah, so I've got partial status. I won't know how much that status will be until the end of their season, and when they do the rankings. But I'll get a few events there next year, and I'll play full time on the WAPT Tour, which is the Women's All Pro Tour. They've got 12 events, so I'll probably end up playing just over 12 events over 4 months.
Okay, superb. And then in terms of like the bigger picture, what remains the ultimate for you in terms of your golfing career? I mean, obviously, all things being well, and you've got the freedom to travel and everything else. But what ambitions do you have with your own game?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to keep seeing how far I can go. I don't think I've reached my peak of my career. I've only just started revamping my game now to try and get to that next level, which I saw, like, for example, my driving distance. It needs to be further. So I've been working with some special coaches to get me that far, that length off the tee, which will then help me be competitive on the Symmetra Tour, and then when the world starts to open back up, be competitive over in Europe, which I would love to go to the Q school there next year. When China opens back up in Korea, like, just to get back over there and play. I just want to keep playing for the next 3 years and see where it takes me. Yeah.
Super. And with regards to when you do travel, I know that I think previously you've travelled with your father to the States. Is that right? Is that the plan for the future, or would you travel alone, or are there players there that you would sort of integrate with once you sort of find yourself on tour?
Yeah, so I'd say it would be a mix. So my dad is a huge supporter, and he was there in America with me. So we just had a little Airbnb together, and, you know, he'd carry my bag for me and practice and stuff. It was great. Obviously we'd butt heads, but overall it was fine. And I like traveling on my own, but it does get lonely. I've got an amazing boyfriend who I'm living with here in Auckland at the moment, so I really hope that he can come with me to keep me company on the road next year.
Fantastic. And interestingly though, so you mentioned that your dad's been on the bag for you.
Oh, but in practice, not when I play.
Oh, right, okay. No, sorry. Because one of the things that's come up with a few of the podcasts that we've done, with Michelle Holmes, Laura Landon Holmes in America, and a couple of others as well, is we've spoken about the relationship between a parent and a player in terms of that, you know, parent caddy, you know, relationship. How would you, I mean, I think it'd be good to sort of, again, just to reflect back whilst on that subject. How was your relationship with your father when you were getting into golf? Because I know that the dynamic between parents and player can be quite unique. What was your own experience of that? And are there any particular things that you looked at from your dad that you thought, you know, looking back, oh, that was amazing, I'm glad he did that? And is there anything that you can pass on to, you know, to our viewers that parents might see upon themselves and think, do you know what, that's something I can do as well?
Yeah, all I can say is like both my mum and dad were super supportive of my dreams. They, you can see how hard your kid works and if they want something, and all parents need to do is provide the opportunity
Yeah.
for the kid to go and play in a tournament, like to go and practice. Like my dad would pick me up every day after school and he'd just take me to practice and be there with me and help me pick up the balls and just like things like that for kids makes it easier to go and train.
Yeah.
And yeah, providing the opportunity to play in events. Obviously financial contribution is important too. But once you get to a certain age, obviously kids are going to rebel against their parents. I got to an age where I just hated dad being there, and like he would try and not control but put his own 2 cents in all the time, and I was trying to find my own 2 feet and my independence within myself and my game.
Yeah.
And it was tough, but I think over time, it's taken a long time, but we've both learned how we work, and he's learned when not to say something.
Yeah.
And I've learned also when not to get grumpy with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, at what age do you think your mindset?
Because I know at the end of the day, all parents want to do it is to help.
No, of course. Yeah, I think that's the thing with Isaac and the journey that we're going on is Isaac's 8, and we've got Leo that's 2 that's showing a love of golf already. But I think that the overwhelming advice that we've got is very much what you said, really, is to be supportive. And as Isaac gets towards 9, he's 9 in July.
Yeah.
We're focusing on independent golf. So, I carry the bag when I caddy for him on local competitions on a Saturday. He makes his own club choices. He tees the ball up himself. But I still think like one of the challenges is that, and it doesn't concern me, it doesn't bother me in any way, shape or form where he hits the ball. But I think it's trying to get Isaac over when he hits a bad shot and he's disappointed with himself, picking him up. And I think that's probably the one thing that I'm trying to do as much as I can, to basically just try and put him at ease with, because he's got very high expectations of himself. There's no pressure from me, but also at the same time, it's just managing that emotional development that he's going through as a young boy as well.
Yeah, and that's all you can do is be supportive and positive. And I mean, I remember when I was his age, and I would get so grumpy, like, and angry about, and perfection had to be perfect. But over time, and as you mature, you learn that you don't have to be perfect to score well, and like you engine. Yeah, it was actually really interesting. I played with this little autistic boy couple of weeks ago, and just the way that he thought on the golf course compared to me when I was his age was vastly different. All he cared about was course management, and I want it there, I want to hit it there. Like, never talked about a technical part of his swing at all the whole day. And I was like, oh my god, like I wish I could not be bothered about that. Like, it was cool. Like, yeah, I think it just comes with growing up and figuring out who he is. And
cool. One of the words that I wanted to explore this as well, obviously we're doing our research in advance of this, you described yourself as a golf freestyler in an article that we saw, and I can imagine what it sounds quite Seve-esque almost in that, but I wanted to get your interpretation of what you felt that meant to you, because I love the idea of a golf freestyler. I think there's got so many connotations that come from that word, but it would be great to get your take on what is a golf freestyler in your mind, and why was it that word that you chose to describe your own game?
Yeah, so as a young kid and growing up, I was a perfectionist, and everything had to be perfect. And I learned very quickly that was almost making me dislike the game. And I would get not scared, but I'd anxious of going to play, because I was like, it has to be perfect. But that's not how it is. So I learned to be more creative, and I guess play with freedom, and have a freestyle I guess, take on my game, right? So I'd learn to adapt. If my drives weren't great, I'd be like, okay, well, let's just bang it out and try and get my scrambling really good that day. And just adapting to the course, adapting to how your game is feeling that day. And just, you can see it with skiers, right? They're freestyling their way down the slopes, and it's almost the same with golf. You're your own artist.
Yeah, so basically without fear, not for, without, no worrying about the consequences. Wherever it goes, but ultimately just letting your body relax, just feeling at one with your own game and being confident with that. Is that a fair analysis of that?
Yeah. You hit the nail on the
head. What I think, just a few of the questions that I'd love to learn a little bit more of is, we haven't asked this before, but I think these are really good questions because everyone's going to be different. What's the best shot you've ever hit?
I did my first ever fist pump when in my last round of qualifying school in Palm Springs this year, and I holed a chip shot to get back to par. It was a big shot because I knew I was borderline of making the cut.
Okay.
And I did my fist pump, and it was like under the pump, it was under the pressure, it was when I needed it, and I was like, and I'd been working hard on my short game.
Yeah.
And I was so excited.
Have you had any holes in one?
Yeah. Yes, I had.
Have you? How many?
I had one in America. Oh, that was one. I think I only had the one. Yeah.
How did that feel? Because I'm still waiting towards mine. So I'd love to know just what that might feel like.
Oh.
Did you see it go in?
Don't try for it. You can't try. Yeah, it bounced. I bounced past the pin. The green was sloping like this.
Yeah. And
it bounced here, and then back into the hole. It was pretty cool.
Oh,
yeah, but then, like, when you're playing overseas and you've got all these Maseratis, BMWs, cash prizes for the hole in one, you really try hard, and it doesn't seem to get close any of the time, does it?
Yeah. No, I can imagine. I can well imagine.
When you've got something on the line.
And who are your favourite players?
Oh, I love Justin Thomas. I think he's so cool, and he doesn't get like sidetracked by what other people think, and he's a great golfer. I'm actually working with the same people that train him over at Joey D Golf, which is really cool. Yeah. Who else? Justin Thomas. He's the man.
Super. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I feel like we've covered so much in that, and again, really, really appreciate your time. I think it's just obviously frustrating. I can't imagine, as I say, as an athlete, what it must be like with everything that's going on. But we sincerely hope things can get back to normal as soon as they can to enable you to play. And we look forward to seeing your results, when that happens. For those of you that don't already follow Laura on Instagram, feel free to do so. And if those of you do have any questions in terms of Laura's background, her career, her journey, or any tips, then do feel free to make a comment in the comment box below on YouTube. This will also be going out on Instagram, on IGTV, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. I think it might be to do with the geographical location. I know we've had a couple of issues there with the picture coming in and out, I think, on that, but we'll do what we can to fix that as well as we can. And we just loved having you on, Laura. I think it's so good to hear about your journey, from when you've started into golf, from moving to college in America to playing in China, and it's obviously to your continued aspirations on the Symmetra Tour as well. And we wish you well, and we really appreciate you coming on to talk with us.
You're so welcome. It was great to be part of it.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Laura. Take care.